The countdown to Muncher has begun. A MIDI. I love it in 2021, man.
Yeah.
I miss MIDIs, dude. I remember
I do too.
Going and actually finding ones that were better than other ones. You know what I mean? Because some of them would be horrible, and then you would find one that was like fucking awesome, and you'd be like, oh man, this is good. I mean, I guess none of them were like awesome, but they were fucking awesome for the time. So yeah, we are live.
All right.
How are you today? How was your week? Or I guess since Tuesday? Since we did our podcast Tuesday.
Going good. Just been in my sandbox.
Did I send that?
My little castles.
Did I send that video to you that I made or no?
Yeah, I saw it.
His face. I was like, huh? That was like the most like coy shit of all time. He was like, tee. I'm like, huh? Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to talk Last Boy Scout.
Oh shit, that was what we were supposed to watch? No, I was kidding. You're like
I watched The Last Jedi.
No, if I'd watched that, I wouldn't have come to the podcast. I just you would have heard about it on the news. I would have fucking hung myself or something. Only seen that movie once. That's enough. All you need is one.
One and done.
One and done. Yeah, pretty much. One. That's how you ruin a series in one movie. Okay, so let's go ahead and get right into it, sir. Let's get into nerd news. Or as you
nerd
say,
news.
Yeah, I was going to say, as you said, nerd news. Okay, so go ahead, sir.
All right. Well, my nerd news for the week is there's going to be a sequel to Face Off.
Really? Is it going to have both Nicolas Cage and John Travolta in it?
Well, that's what the rumor is. But I'm pretty sure John Travolta got harpooned to death at the end of the
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah, that's true.
So, but hey, stranger things have happened.
Yeah, that movie was
Face Off
legit.
is like right up there for me. I love that movie. So if they could re-team Travolta and Cage one more time,
yeah,
I'm down.
Yeah, I mean,
I miss when John Woo was like making movies in America. That was a good time.
Yeah, because I can't really think of anything that he's done recently in America.
He's still making. Yeah, it's been like 20 years, but he's still making movies just back in Hong Kong.
That's
I
like
believe.
Jackie Chan. Like I mean, he has a lot of movies he's done here, but he's done like 5 billion movies in Hong Kong. Like he's like the guy. You know what I mean? As far as for like movies in Hong Kong, it's like Jesus, dude. Like, yeah, because I think literally I just see like his director credits for it's like Hard Boiled, and that obviously that wasn't even filmed here because that was dubbed and shit. But like, I mean that was a huge influential movie, and then Face Off, and it's like the rest of his films pretty much are like movies that were done like you said, like in Hong Kong, like Red Cliff 1, Red Cliff 2, Crossing 2, well, Mission Impossible 2, that kind of stuff. But
and don't forget Hard Target with Jean-Claude.
How could you?
Yeah.
Answer the question. How could you? I'm like, how could you stab me in the back?
Yeah! I didn't think you'd do it to me.
I didn't think you'd do it to me, George. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I really liked the first one, but like you said, he got like fucking massacred at the end of the last one, so I don't really know. But like you said, I mean, whatever. They could have said that like when they like switched out the dude's face, it could have been somebody else that they like switched his face out with or something. Because like there's literally like no scars once they do the face off switch. It's like literally.
I think it'd be pretty fun to do a episode on Face Off someday in the future.
Yeah, I'd be down to. I mean, I'd be down to watch any movie, even if I didn't really want to, as long as somebody nominated it, or like obviously like one of us nominated it. So I actually just found this out, and this is another one I'm not exactly too sure about how I feel about this, but I had no clue this was even in the works. But apparently, it's like supposed to come out this year on Sci-Fi, but I guess they've been working on a Day of the Dead TV show that's supposed to connect the original like Day of the Dead 1985 George Romero film, and like it's supposed to take place, I guess, over the course of the first like little bit of the zombie apocalypse, and then it's supposed to kind of lead up to Day of the Dead, which is set well after the beginning of the zombie apocalypse, because it's like Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, and then Day of the Dead obviously are like kind of like none of them are connected obviously, but they're connected in the sense that like they're all in the same universe and they're all like one after another, not directly, but like, you know, night then dawn then day, that kind of a thing. So it's like I'm not exactly sure how this is gonna go. Obviously if they like ever bring in any characters like Rhodes or like Dr. Frankenstein, they'll have to be played by new people, because Joseph Pilato and the guy that played Dr. Frankenstein like fucking died. Like the guy that played Dr. Frankenstein died like a long time ago, and
he
like
got killed by zombies.
Right, yeah, and then Joseph Pilato got ripped apart by zombies in real life. Which, you know, that's sad. But I mean, there are other people that are still alive, but obviously they're a lot older. So, like, yeah, if they wanted to, like, lead up to that, they'd have to actually have, like, new actors. Or they could just not even have those characters show up in it. But I don't know why you would make a show, call it Day of the Dead, and have it go connect to Day of the Dead, the movie, if you're not going to have any characters from that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm kind of, like, wondering, like, what they're doing with this. I'll probably look into it, but it's not exactly something I'm looking forward to, because I like looked it up, and apparently I didn't know this, but Day of the Dead, because I knew that they did a remake with like Ving Rhames, but they also did a sequel called Day of the Dead 2 Contagion or something like that. That's like an unofficial sequel, but has no characters from the original in it. And there's also another remake that came out in 2018 that I had no clue about, that's like actually has like, I don't know, it's supposed to be even worse than the fucking remake with Ving Rhames, which I was like I don't know, like I like Day of the Dead, but if anything you would think they would have remade Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead a lot. I mean, they have remade those a shit ton, but like I guess it's just because Dawn, Day, and Night were like so good that even Day, which I think, even though I find it to be like my favorite, most people would probably say it's like their least favorite of the trilogy of the original three. That like, they like why you would remake that one. You know what I mean? I guess people are just looking for anything to like try to remake instead of actually coming up with like an original idea. I'm more excited.
Hopefully this new one is someone who actually cares about the original as opposed to just a cash grab.
Yeah, because I mean, I think that like the remake they did with Ving Rhames, like they at least used like some of the characters from it. Like I think Ving Rhames plays like Captain Rhodes. So, I haven't seen it, but like to me, it was kind of like after Dawn of the Dead remake, I was kind of like, what's the point? Like I don't know. Like I really feel like there's no reason to remake those movies. Those were like perfect movies in my eyes, like Night, Dawn, and Day.
Yeah.
Like I feel like Night of the Living Dead kind of was like when they remade it was remade with so much love from Tom Savini that it was fine, and it actually is, I think, like a pretty good movie on its own. But like the ones with like the Dawn ones and like Day, it's just like, why? You know, like it's not like you can make a case like, oh, they were in black and white or they were shot so long ago the effects were shit. It's like the effects were better than most of the effects these days because they were Tom Savini practical, like, you know, you can't get much better than that. So
yeah,
I don't really understand that. It's also another thing where I was thinking, like, I mean, how far does it go? Are they eventually going to remake Land of the Dead? Like, why? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what... Not only... I feel like I am more interested in, like that last thing that George Romero worked on, the book that came out, that they'll probably make into a movie. I'm more interested in something like that that's, like, an original idea than, like, hey, let's remake Day. It's like, dude, I love Bub, I love all those characters, but it's just fine. Like, just, you know, like... yeah. So, anyway. Yeah.
Cool.
I didn't mean to go on a
that's
rant
good
there. But
one. I think we've talked about it before, but like, I think you should steer away from remakes
yeah.
of good movies.
Yes.
Unless it's you like knock it out of the park, you're only going to remind people how good the original was.
Right. That. Yeah. Exactly. Because I feel like you were saying, like, I mean, like, there's no reason to do a remake of a good movie unless how Savini did it with Night, where it's like, he did such a great job with that. I feel like that can, you know, like, obviously people were reminded of the original, but, like, not in a bad way. You know what I mean? Like, they're two separate things, but they're also of the same feeling. Whereas, like, something like Dawn, like the new one, you just watch it and you're like, I just want to watch the original one because it like actually had something to say, and the zombies weren't, like, I don't know, like, fast bullshitters. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I hear you.
But yeah, fuck it, Star Wars, New Hope. Let's remake it right now, tonight.
That's gonna happen someday. You know it will.
Yeah. I'm sure what they'll do is they'll do like a remake on the Disney Plus channel, and it'll be like a show.
Disney's Marvel's Star Wars Episode 4.
Starring Rich Evans as George Lucas. That would be so good, dude.
Oh my god!
Oh my god. Okay, let's go to Recommendation Nation. Hopefully this, you know, so we can get on to some good shit.
Recommendation Nation! Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding. Ding, 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 ding.
You ready to do this?
Hell yeah.
Oh man. What do you got this week?
So, I feel like it's always hard for me to, like, it was easy for me to come up with a news thing because I just stumbled upon it, and I'm a huge Dawn of the Day of the Dead fan. Well, I like Dawn of the Dead too. But, sometimes it's hard for me to recommend stuff because I don't want to recommend something that, like, I kind of like, but everyone else will be like, what the fuck is this bullshit? You know what I mean? Like a survival game or something. Yeah, I know, but I want to, like, give, I don't know, it's kind of like, it's when you like a movie and it gets good praise, it you know, it makes me feel good. Okay. So, this time, I am going to, I'm like, oh, I abstain. Fuck it. Everybody hates Chris. Let's watch that. No, I'm going to recommend something that I use all the time. It's actually a program. I don't know if I've recommended this on the podcast before or not, but it's called Clone Hero. And, like, if you're a huge fan of Guitar Hero Rock Band and you have, like, a PC that can handle it, I would definitely recommend looking into it. Because it's that program that I've used to just, you know, play downloaded songs that, like, charts that people make. So it's pretty much like customized, like, Guitar Hero Rock Band. You can play pretty much anything that anybody's charted, and all of the old Rock Band and Guitar Hero songs are on there too. So I've got over like 2,000 or 3,000 songs, and they don't take. I mean, like, I think they take up a little bit of space on my other hard drive, but it's one of those things where, like, it's kind of like if you're looking to do, if you want a Guitar Hero experience, and you could even have a party, you know, with people and, like, stream it to your TV and stuff, that's something I would totally recommend people that, like, they like the genre, but they're kind of tired of, like, playing the same old shit, because it's just getting bigger and bigger, you know, and they're adding new songs all the time. Like, every month they have a new thing from Clone Hero Central, like, where they do a pack of stuff. So it's like, you know, there's no reason not to if you're a fan of it, and you have, like, one of those old guitars around. So I guess that's pretty much
cool.
my recommendation is just...
Yeah, I didn't realize that was, like, a pretty big thing still.
Yeah, I think it's... I don't know if it's, like... I mean, I think enough people are into it, but it's kind of like DDR, where it's, like, it's not... It's kind of like a niche thing, but I think that, like... Okay. I think there are enough people that are still into that like Clone Hero has kind of like brought back because of the what's it called, like the customization of it, I guess, that yeah, that it's definitely like something that
cool.
Yeah, people would be into.
I've enjoyed watching you play on Twitch.
Oh, thank you. Yes,
Do you think that in a few years, like, those guitars are going to be in such demand that they'll be like super expensive and hard to find?
Yeah, they're already kind of like that. Like, if you try to find like ones that are either in a box or they're like, not fucked up, they're really kind of hard to come by. Especially like the Wii ones. I think those are like the best ones you can get for whatever reason. I have like an Xbox 360 Guitar Hero 2 controller that like isn't super comfortable because it's in a horrible shape, but like, and like the rock, whatever it's called, the rock out activation is fucked up on it. So that's why like whenever I get the ability, it'll instantly activate. But like yeah, they're already like on eBay and like all that kind of stuff, like, which is funny because I remember like back when I worked at GameStop, like, geez, probably probably not 8 years ago, probably like six or 5 years ago, dude, we had this fucking all over the place to the point where we had to stop taking them.
Yeah, they were everywhere.
And it was like, and now, I mean, I guess that's kind of how things are, but it's like, let me see here. I'm just gonna, because I haven't searched recently for this, but Guitar Hero controllers. So just like one for the Wii that's like, it's pre-owned, it's not even new or anything, it's like $40. That's not a lot, but like, yeah, I guess these aren't as bad as I thought, but like to me it's like, I wouldn't really want to buy like a used one because I have no fucking clue.
Yeah, they're probably all beat to hell.
Yeah, so like if I'm looking for like a new one, I mean like still in the box, like Nintendo Wii wireless guitar, the official hero, what? It's like $104. PS3 one, $82. A new PS4 one, $139. Sealed Guitar Hero 5, like a whole band wireless PS3 one, $320. This is like on eBay.
Wow.
Yeah. This is like then one that's just the bottom only, $19.99. So if you want a brand new one, yeah, that it's, which is funny. They need to actually, I think there's like a missed market here for like somebody to jump on this and start making kind of like new versions, because like a company could do that and just kind of like, you know what I mean? Like they could get on that and they could just, like those Hori fighting sticks things, those aren't like, you don't have to be like official to make those, but you can still make them good. So I feel like there's definitely a market. If I knew how to do it, I would do it. I could probably make a shit ton of money, but I don't. So if any,
well, now I'm thinking about the Donkey Kong Congos.
Yeah, I think that's another thing that like definitely. I wish that like maybe they'll bring that back for something, because that was a fun game. I still have those around here somewhere. They're just like beat up to hell. So
you could jam like the King of Kings.
I could. I'm like, Donkey Kong's a great gorilla for bananas. I got too excited.
Nice.
Okay, so what's your recommendation, sir?
All right, my recommendation, Nation, is a movie that I saw recently called Black Sunday from 1977, and it's like a action thriller disaster movie about a terrorist who wants to fly the Goodyear blimp into the Super Bowl and like explode it.
Huh.
And it was a pretty wild movie.
Didn't they like rip off of that in Family Guy, where he like flew that Goodyear blimp and like started throwing money onto the field or some shit?
Maybe.
Yeah.
But
that's
it's
interesting.
A pretty weird movie because like most of the time is spent with like the terrorist, like
okay,
plotting the plan and like
right,
prepping everything, and it's really weird because it almost seems like you're supposed to root for the terrorist because he's an American like Vietnam vet who's like really messed up and like has lots of problems.
So it's kind of like the original Rambo, where he like comes back and it's like
kind of.
yeah, where he's not really like he's doing all this shit that he shouldn't be doing, but he's being like fucked with, and he's like you said, like it's like a Vietnam like shell shock kind of shit, like PTSD.
Yeah, and like he lost his family when he was at the war, so like he's very like he hates the country now. But it was pretty intense. Like it actually made me feel weird to watch it, just because it kind of is a little bit manipulating. But they filmed at the actual Super Bowl that year.
Really?
It was pretty cool because you see like it was the Steelers and Cowboys that year, so you see like Terry Bradshaw playing, and then like the characters are running around the stadium in the background and stuff. So
nice.
it was a good movie, but it came out like right around the same time Star Wars came out, so it was a huge bomb and no one saw it because everyone was seeing Star Wars.
Yeah, that's actually it's funny that you mentioned that, because I was actually watching, you know, that one YouTube channel I was telling you about, like about I think it's like Hats Off Entertainment, that they did all those documentaries.
Yeah.
And he did like a video a while back that I just now watched about like who's Larry Crumb, with like what's his face, he John Candy, and like they were talking about how the marketing was so bad, but not only that, but in like one of the interviews he showed, like John Candy was like, they were asking him like, how does it feel to like, you know, come off a movie and like it's not, you know, people in audiences are both like, this movie isn't like super great, and he was like, you know, he's like, I don't know, I'm not the kind of person to like be like, oh whatever, I got my money. He's like, it feels awful when, you know, like a movie comes out and, you know, like he just seemed like a nice guy and stuff, but essentially what what I was getting to is that like he mentioned in there that like he's like Ghostbusters and like it was like some other movie that's like huge came out like right next to when his movie came out. You know what I mean? And you know, you looking back now, you're like, well, what kind of fucking chance did that movie even have to even get a share of the profits because of how huge those fucking movies were? So it's like, you know.
Yeah,
it just sucks. It's like bad timing, bad marketing is everything. I mean, you look at like some of the John Carpenter films, like Big Trouble in Little China, like their marketing was fucking horrible, and it was like, yeah.
Well, and The Thing.
Yeah.
The timing was horrible because it came out right when
E.T.
came out.
But it's just horrible marketing too, especially like I was saying, like with Big Trouble, because it was like they had those horrible ads, and it's just like,
yeah. Who is Jack?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, okay, great. Oh well, we'll just have to keep that in mind when we make the Buddy Shotz movie.
Nice. So you've been working on the screenplay?
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm like the buddies caught me in the first act. It's all backwards. What's with that? You're like, God damn it.
Wait, the buddies are at the
I don't know. I'm going for something avant-garde here. It's gonna be a real thriller. Okay, well let's get on
Buddy
to
Shotz versus Buddy Boys. Whoever wins, we lose.
Let them buddy. It's like, hey, I'm gonna.
Matt v. Mike.
Bryan Cranston's like, I'm gonna be over here falling down a tiny little catwalk and then going into a body bag. I'm like, cool. Matt v. Mike, Dawn of fucking Justice. It's like, shit. Okay, and it'll be like 5 hours, so that it'll be like the Matt and Mike yeah, the solid Morton cut. I'm like, we want the Snyder cut. Okay, cool. So we're going to the weekly spotlight this week, and this was nominated by you. And what is this movie?
The Last Boy Scout.
That's true.
And I hope you enjoyed it.
Spoiler alert.
That's it.
I did not. It fucking no, I was kidding. Spoiler alert. Just kidding. This is a spoiler alert because we are going to be talking about the movie. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, I would advise to stop watching the podcast now and go see this movie, because this is a great film. If you like Lethal Weapon or any of those kinds of action movies, this is like right up your alley. Like, yeah, it was great. I like this movie a lot.
Nice.
It's a shame it did not have a special edition. I feel like that happens a lot. I'll look and there won't be a real special edition. Like, Hoosiers doesn't have, like, a real... Like, it has a special edition to a degree, but there's not, like, a version that has, like, I think, a shit ton of extras on it, which kind of sucks, but... I don't know. Anyway, there's too many movies that, like, get special editions that, like, the movies suck, and I'm like, okay, cool. Or, like...
As long as Shout Factory sticks around, they'll eventually, like, acquire it.
Yeah. Shout Factory's really the only people out there doing justice to physical media these days, because new, like, Blu-rays and DVDs and whatever, like, Blu-ray 4K shit, like, all that stuff is just crap these days. It's like, there's no special features, there's no commentaries that anybody, like, would want. Like, it's bad. Like, it sucks. It's definitely not how it used to be, which is sad. So, let's just get into...
Before
go ahead.
we get into it, real quick, I have a
oh, shit.
Head or gut?
I'm like,
does anyone ever pick head?
Right!
I don't think anyone would rather get punched in the face than the gut. But
right.
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Punch in the... Yeah, it's like... Yeah, I don't understand that. It's like, okay.
Like gut every time, dude.
Yeah. The only time I would maybe, like, not want to get punched in the gut is if I was, like, having hardcore diarrhea.
Or if it was like the guy that punched Houdini to death. Punched Houdini.
Yeah. I mean...
Sorry, I was laughing as I was trying
Well, no, I mean, that's like, accurate. He did punch him, and he did die, so he did punch him to death. He didn't fucking UFC him, though. Just for people watching this, like, he didn't ground and pound his ass.
And spoiler alert, in this movie, Bruce Willis punches a guy to death.
That's true, yeah. Well, he punched... It was a one and done affair.
Yeah.
So, yeah. For people that don't know, The Last Boy Scout is a 1991 American buddy action comedy directed by Tony Scott, which is the brother of Ridley Scott. Starring...
R.I.P.
Yeah. Starring Bruce Willis, Damon Wayans, Chelsea Field, Noble Willingham, Taylor Negron... Did I say that right? And Danielle Harris. And, like, there's a tiny small bit where Halle Berry's in it. The film was released in the United States on December 13th, 1991.
Almost 30 years ago.
Yep. Yeah, it was...
Maybe they're waiting for the special edition for December. 30-year anniversary.
Maybe. It sucks that Tony Scott's not around, because he's probably the only one that would push for this to happen. Because, like, Bruce Willis and Damon Wayans, I'm pretty sure they don't give a fuck at this point. Even though this is a great movie, and I'm not saying they don't, like, they're careless people, but I'm just saying at this point in their careers, they're probably, like... I mean, Bruce Willis is off making, like, horrible Chinese movies. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
He's doing, like, the fucking Steven Seagal bullshit, where he's, like, barely doing anything in the movie. But they, like, put him on the cover and shit, because he's in it, like, for 5 seconds.
Right. Well, I'm glad you liked it. Like, I've seen this movie a few times over the years, and there's better, like, action movies out there and better Bruce Willis movies, but it keeps growing on me for some reason. Like, I always want to... It's one I want to watch often.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, honestly, out of all the Bruce Willis movies I've seen, this one ranks up there for me. I thought it was pretty damn good. Like, I agree with you. It's definitely not the best movie. It's not the best of anything, but it's very much like, hey, this is like Lethal Weapon. Like, I felt very much like this was like a Lethal Weapon type of feeling, especially for, like, even how it plays out and, like, with, like, the bad guys and all that kind of thing. And
and the snappy dialogue. Like, this movie's all about, like, the clever dialogue.
Right. But you know, it wasn't directly like, you didn't feel like, hey, this is like a loaded weapon, where it's like, you know, I mean, obviously that's a comedy, but like, it wasn't like a, hey, this is like a complete ripoff. I mean, I guess they did have Bruce Willis mainly plays, like, even though he's older, he's the actual detective that has like knowledge with, like, you know, he's used a gun before, he's killed people before, he's like actually trained and stuff like that. So he's kind of like the Mel Gibson character in this thing, and like Damon Wayans is like, even though he's younger, he's like the Danny Glover kind of character, where he like he'll help, but he's kind of like out of his element to a degree. As far as like with the action stuff. And even
though he calls Bruce Willis the Boy Scout, he's really much more of a Boy Scout.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, to a degree. I mean, like, I feel like Bruce Willis, like,
Bruce Willis is a total scumbag.
He is now, but like the reason why, like, I feel like he was a Boy Scout, but then like him being a Boy Scout led him down the path of becoming kind of like an asshole.
Yeah.
Because him doing the right thing ruined his like professional career.
Right.
Which sucks because it's also like, that's kind of like Damon Wayans, like he was like a guy that like his character was also like, he's a stand-up guy now, but he did some like horrible shit. So it's kind of like the reverse. Like they've kind of like flipped. Like he's become, but they're both like good people. Like, you know, Damon Wayans and fucking Bruce Willis aren't out there like killing people for no reason or like raping anybody or like, you know, that kind of shit. But like they both like, have their vices. Like,
right.
Damon Wayans is like addicted to like painkillers and pills because he got hooked on them when he was playing football and got injured, and like and that happens a lot. I mean, that happens with professional athletes, wrestlers, like all kinds of people that like, it starts off, I need like painkillers, and then it's like, I need this shit to sleep, and then it just goes from there, which is sad. But then it's like Bruce Willis, like he helped the president, and then he like stopped this like the mayor from fucking, or the Congress guy from fucking like beating this fucking chick he was like prostituting or some shit, and like he was supposed to be his like bodyguard, and he was like, okay, this shit ain't right, and he like busted into the hotel and like knocked out the fucking his like boss, and pretty much like it ruined his career.
Which that was a weird thing, like he was like torturing her.
Yeah, he had her like tied up in a shower and was like whipping her with a belt and shit. And she was, and like he bust in and like, and you find out that like it's kind of like a fall from grace kind of thing for him. So it's like, and he's still like a good guy, but he's almost like, everybody says he's a fuck up, and like there's even a part in this movie where he's like sitting in his car and he says, nobody likes you, everybody hates you, you're gonna lose, smile, you fuck. So he's just kind of like done with like everything, and there, you know, we're already into spoilers here, but there's a part where like his wife cheats on him and he's just like, whatever. Like he's so kind of just like over it.
The movie out like at hitting rock bottom.
Exactly, yeah. And like he gets to the point where like he's kind of like back, like he's kind of back to where he got out of the slump in the end, because, you know, Damon Wayans was his hero, and when he got like kicked out, he stopped watching football, and like, you know, all this other shit's happened, and by the end of the movie, it's like, you know, him and his wife have kind of like gotten back together. His daughter is like nice to him again. Like he has like his friend is like essentially like his hero and like his partner now, and it's like he's on top of the world. So
yeah, I can't wait to talk about that ending.
Yes, yeah, definitely. So I guess we've already kind of talked about some spoilers, but I have somewhat of a synopsis here. But it's like, when the girl that Detective Joe Hallenbach is protecting gets murdered. The boyfriend of the murdered girl, ex-football player Jimmy Dix, I don't know why that's in, like, they have that in quotations. I'm like, what? Attempts to investigate the murder, attempts to investigate and solve the case. What they discover is that there is a deep-seated corruption going on between a crooked politician and the owner of a pro football team. This is where I felt it was very, like, Lethal Weapon style. Because in almost every single Lethal Weapon, there's this, like, conspiracy going on. You know what I mean? Which is, like, to a degree, like, there's some shit going on where it's, like, you know, either somebody's trying to kill them or, well, somebody's always trying to kill them. But, like, it's just the kind of stuff that wouldn't really happen to, like, a fucking, I feel like a regular, police department. I mean, maybe it does, but it's stuff that's very very entertaining though. So, at the beginning of this movie when the credits were like slamming, I was like, "What the fuck?" Like the it's like I thought this was a prison movie because fucking the credits are like Bruce Willis, vroom. Like, you know what I mean? I was like, "What the?" Yeah, that was like the first thing I saw, and it was like 50 times in a row, and I was like, dude, this movie better get better, like, quick, because this is
no
fucking...
way, I wish every credits...
That was the most annoying thing I've ever seen in a movie. I was like, fuck. Great. It was bad.
Got me so pumped.
Pumped! Honestly, if this movie hadn't gotten any better, I probably would have given this the worst score that I've ever given a movie.
Good lord.
But it instantly did get better, because they started off this... Yeah, they started off this film... playing, like, with, it was like I was watching the Apollo Creed intro again. I was so happy. Like, they had this, like, pretty much it's what I want to see in every movie. They don't waste time with the bullshit credits because they work them into like a song, or they work, like, if they work them in, like with the Spider-Man movies, they did that too, the Sam Raimi ones, where they would like work the credits into the beginning where it did a recap of the last movie. I love that. It's like you don't waste any time. You just, you know, you're getting into the fucking good shit. I don't want to see a bunch of bullshit names on the screen. But like this one, they did...
Or opening text.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But like in this movie, they play a song that is essentially just, Friday night is a great night for football. We've got a great night for football. If football had an anthem like this, I would watch it all the time. Like, honestly.
Yeah, like... It's basically like the Monday Night Football theme, but
yeah,
actually way better.
Good.
And more,
yeah.
Like they should use this.
Yeah, I was actually shocked that I actually looked on YouTube and they did use this at one point, but it was actually for football, like what everybody else calls football, like rugby and shit.
Okay.
Yeah. So like, and it's like it was a different version of it, but like, yeah, they were like, Friday night's a great night for football, and they were like showing like people playing the game and stuff, and I was like, dude, it goes so well together. Like, it's...
Yeah. It's so awesome.
Yeah.
I knew you were going to love this because it's got, like, the horns in the background.
Yeah.
It's just, like, really well done. And, like, you're like, oh, man, this movie's going to...
And it goes on forever, which is awesome. Like, it was so good. Like,
it should have just been the whole movie, like, 2 hours.
Honestly, I was going to put this as the best part of the movie, no matter what, but I can't... It's a great part of the movie, but I can't say it's the best part because this movie is a fucking awesome movie. So I can't... It's that the whole thing is great. Like, I was like, you know, Friday night is a great night for football, even though I don't watch it. So fucking why not? But, like, yeah, this was great, man. Like, it's a great way to start your movie, too, because it also gets you hyped up and it shows football. Even though in retrospective, like, even though... you know, there are football players like Damon Wayans' character is a football player, an ex-football player, and there's some football playing shown. Like, it's like 1% of this movie is football.
Yeah, it's not about that.
Right. But it doesn't matter because there was a football player in it that's a main character, and, you know, there's fucking football. It doesn't really matter. Like, this could have been in a fucking, like, I don't know. This could have been in any movie, and I probably would have been disappointed, though, because the rest of the movie might not have been as good as the song. But it was fucking awesome. Yeah, I don't know. I was trying to figure out who this person was. at first I thought it was Dee Snider, but it wasn't him for sure. But Friday Night. I should have looked this up. Friday Night is.
Yeah, I did look it up. It was like an actual musician, but no one that I'd ever heard of.
Okay.
And I've heard of everyone.
Bill Medley. Yeah, I'd never heard of him either, actually. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. It was weird because it sounded fucking... Like, his voice sounded awesome, too. So I was like, how the fuck did this guy not become huge? Like, this is... Maybe he is huge to somebody. I'm not trying to shit on Bill Medley. I'm just saying, like, you know...
You should have done a duet with Bruno.
That's actually, yeah, one of my notes is I wish that, like, he would have been out there as well singing, but I guess that kind of would have been a little weird if he's, like, in the movie as a different character, but singing. It's kind of like when Garth Brooks fucking hosted Saturday Night Live and the musical guest was Chris Gaines, his fucking alter ego. Which you can't find that episode, like, anywhere. That's the episode that has, like, some of the best skits ever in SNL history. And, like,
movie theaters.
Yeah, and, like, it's, for whatever reason, it's, like, I can't find that whole thing. I don't know, I guess with so many years, it's kind of like, I don't know. I feel like they just need to come out with, like, each season by season, unless they've already started to do that, I don't know. Because...
They have, but there's, like, rights issues, I think.
Okay. That's
like,
so
I think
stupid.
The Lowe's theme...
is like a... Well, it's like, who the fuck even... Are there Lowe's even around anymore? Like...
I don't know. Maybe like, overseas.
That's just annoying. It's like, who gives a fuck? Like, I don't know. I understand, though. This just sucks. So, like, it was raining so fucking much in this movie, in this opening scene with the football. I was like, holy shit, like, this is so fucking blatant fake rain, but it was, like, fucking out of control. Like...
Well, I was thinking, like, it was definitely over the top, out of control, but I do remember there was one game...
That you've seen? Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a monsoon like that, and they would punt the ball, and it would just, like, stick into the mud.
Yeah.
When it came down.
To me, at that point, it's like, dude, it's like baseball. When that shit happens, they just kind of are like, okay, we gotta, like, reschedule this shit. But, like, if it's like that, like, what the fuck? If it's that bad, you need to, like, maybe think about, like, waiting or, like, rescheduling, because... Not only that, but, like, don't, like, most...
No, that's what makes football great, man.
You can't play it?
You can't stop it once you start.
Yeah. Best part about it is you don't have to watch. I don't know. For me, it's like, I don't understand. Like, don't football stadiums all have roofs on them that you could, like, close at some point?
Not all of them.
That's lame.
But what'd you think of this game? Like, some pretty interesting plays happened.
Yeah, I mean, the part where the guy got shot to death was probably my favorite part of the movie.
Multiple guys.
Yeah. That was weird. I was like, before that even happened, I wrote down this random, like, exchange. Are we witnessing the death of football? No, I think we are witnessing the death of journalism. And I was like, how prophetic those words were back then for, like, now, in our day and age, when every article is, like, clickbait and, like, no, there's no such thing as objective journalism. It's all, like, totally. Right or left. It's bullshit, dude. It's so stupid. And it's all, like, making a huge deal out of nothing or downplaying acts of fucking horrific terrorism just because of somebody's skin color. It's like, dude. Jesus Christ, everybody's trying to push an angle.
You just got real.
It's true. It's fucking horrible. But speaking of which, Billy Cole pulls out a gun and starts shooting football players to get past them.
Yeah, so I remember this scene, like, remember when you used to go into, like, electronics stores and they would have, like, movies playing on a bunch of TVs?
Right.
I remember seeing this scene.
And you were like...
in a store, and I was, like, horrified.
Yeah.
He starts shooting people on the football field, and then he blows his own head off.
He was like, what'd he say? He's like, is it life a bitch? Yeah. Which I was like... They were like... Because somebody calls him, and they're like... Either you fucking do this shit or you're toast. Get it, get the ball, and there's a lot riding on this game. Pretty much saying if you fuck up this game and you personally don't win the game for your team, we're gonna kill you. And then he kills these people, and he kills himself anyway. I'm like, what's the point? You might as well just have not even done that. Like, Because it's like
Did
half.
he score the touchdown though? That's all that matters.
I don't know. Did he?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Because it's weird because he like. What I was gonna say, he gets to a realization where he's kind of like he kind of realizes what he's done, and that's when he kind of like just drops the ball and like goes to his knees and puts the gun into his head and like pulls the trigger, and it's like. Not only that, but it was raining so hard, I'm pretty sure nobody could hear what he was saying, so. He's like. It's like, huh. I was actually going to say I'm kind of shocked that none of the Bengals players haven't done that already in real life.
Good lord. Wow.
Didn't you get.
The Bengals fan?
Well, to the players. Shooting at their feet. You better get up the fucking field. What were you guys saying at one point? Like someone, like one or multiple fucking of the Bengals players had been caught with fucking guns or something, or Lugers or something. I don't know. I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, I'm sure that's happened.
Not specifically. I didn't mean specifically like them killing themselves. What I meant specifically was like to try to win the game, running up the field and just shooting the other players.
Yeah, I guess if you can't score a touchdown when you're using a gun,
yeah, you might as well just be like, you still get tackled. It's like, okay, good job. Yeah, it didn't really go the way I thought it was gonna go because he took those pills and I thought they were like, it was gonna go a way of like, hey, these pills are gonna make this guy like unstoppable,
like a power up,
right? Because he was starting to like, he was kind of doing okay without the gun, and then he pulls out the gun and just started walloping dudes, and I was like, okay, shit. It's a good thing he was a good shot. I mean, he could have like accidentally killed someone in the crowd or some shit.
Well, maybe some crowds deserve it, and we'll get to that more towards the end.
Oh, we'll see. Speaking of which, like, there was like only like 5 people in the crowd that had like an umbrella. I was kind of shocked. I was like, dude, you knew it was raining. What the fuck were you thinking? I didn't think it was funny that the cheerleaders had like clear raincoats on. Like, I was like,
yeah, man.
I was like, this is fucking ridiculous. So I probably will. I wrote notes down every once in a while, but like, this movie was like hard for me to write notes down all the time because I was just watching the movie. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's a good movie, so it's kind of one of those things where it was hard for me to remember every single thing that happened. And not remember, but like to write notes down. I've kind of stopped doing that too with these like podcasts because like going down every single event in the movie like in order, like with notes, is too like robotic for me. I feel like I think you were right. Like, so it's kind of like I wrote down things that I remembered, but we definitely can go back to things like
that's cool. Like I took some random notes just about stuff that I wanted to be sure we talked about. Like
okay, yeah.
So what do you think of Bruce Willis's overall? Like, what did you think of him in this movie?
I thought he was awesome. He was like a character that like I wish I could play as a detective more because he was like the burnout, like, you know, like honestly this movie was like less of an action film and almost kind of like if literally it was just Bruce Willis, this could have easily been made into just like a noir film because he was just like down on his luck, fucking like the cookie cutter
a little bit.
Right, yeah, that's what I felt. It was like a lot of angles too. Yes, there's a lot of like. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say there was a lot of angles in this movie that reminded me of that, like where he's looking up at a billboard and he throws like the glass at it and stuff in the alley, and it's like lit like that, and it's like you know.
Well, there's like Venetian blinds with like smoke, like
right, yeah.
Smoky and stuff.
I mean, he even has like at his office, he even has like a fucking like, you know, his name on the window thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Where it's like nobody really does that anymore. But it's really cool.
For the first like half hour of this movie, he's like really hungover and stuff. And
yeah.
He kind of does the exact same thing in Die Hard 3, but I think he's really good at playing like a character who's all messed up.
Yeah, no,
he has like a real sleepy voice, like I just woke up.
Right, yeah.
I don't feel very good.
Yeah.
Kind of whispers like that.
Yeah, he's yeah.
I said last week, I think it's prime Bruno.
Yeah, it works. It works really well in this
game.
movie. I think as time goes on, I think it maybe doesn't work as well. Like, he doesn't really evolve.
Yeah.
As an actor, but whatever. I mean, it works for his earlier shit for sure.
Yeah, and then one other thing is, you mentioned how he was like a Secret Service agent who
Mm-hmm.
saved the president's life.
Yeah, he gets fucking shot like 10 times to save the president, and he also grabs the gun, I think, from the guy too somehow. Or somebody else does, but I was just like, this guy's a Terminator.
But that reminded me of, there's like some famous images from when Reagan got shot.
Yes.
Where, have you ever seen that? And like one of his Secret Service agents is like whips out this Uzi.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, that's the coolest thing ever. Like a dude in a suit, like wielding an Uzi in real life.
Yeah, I think they like narked the fuck out of that guy. It's like, okay, well, I mean, that's what happens when you try to fucking kill the president. Not only that, but like, I thought it was kind of funny how the president in this movie isn't like a faux like president. Like it's not like they're like call him a certain, they just call him the president because they're not like, hey, because I think, what is it, 1991, so who was in office at that time? Like, they could have easily gone with whoever was in office, but the guy almost looks like a fucking like weird looking version of Jimmy Carter.
Yeah, I thought so too.
So I was like,
going for that,
right?
It was, yeah.
Because when he like tried to save the president, I mean, I guess it depends on how long ago this was, but I don't know.
Yeah.
This is also back when like Bruce Willis had like a full head of hair for the most part, so like,
right.
It's not like nowadays where if they tried to like show a flashback, they would either have to be like he's always been bald, Picard style for the most part, or which is not true because Picard had like early male pattern baldness, but like he still had hair when he was a cadet, because there's that flashback episode with Q where he's got like
right.
hair with the Nausicaans. Yeah, where he gets like the second chance.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we should do like a podcast where we just talk about Star Trek. That would be legit. It would be like 10 hours long. But
there's some pretty awesome like violence in this movie.
Oh yeah, dude.
Pretty extreme stuff.
This is what makes me think of Lethal Weapon for sure, because there was a ton of shit. Because it was funny because there was actually a scene where his daughter's watching TV, and they have Lethal Weapon 1 on in the background where
right.
Mel Gibson is getting tortured by like, I don't know who the guy is, but he's like an Asian dude that's been in a ton of movies, but he like is like pretty much they're pouring water on him. It's a scene where he's tied up in chains and he's being water's being poured on him, and they're like hitting him with like an electrified stick with like a sponge and like a rag on it or something, and he's like zzz, like getting fucking electrified and shit. And
Mel Gibson loves getting tortured.
Yeah, I was like, holy shit, you let your fucking kid watch this movie. It's a great movie though. I'd probably let my like 14-year-old watch that. It's whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, especially now. I mean, there were shows like fucking people watching like Walking Dead and stuff, and there's like all kinds of horrible shit that happens on that show.
Yeah, for real. So what do you think of like the daughter in this movie? She's pretty over the top.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like the way she like acted wasn't unwarranted for like, I think maybe depending on how long her dad had been out of the picture, and like maybe what her mom had been feeding her, like as far as like, like what she told her daughter and stuff. So like if she said to her like, hey, this is why he's not around, and like he's a loser and all this shit, of course, like if he's not there to defend himself because he's out of the picture and like burying his nose in alcohol and his work, then like he's not there to really say anything about it. So she was definitely, she cussed like a lot. So
that scene where she's like just pretty much screaming at Bruce Willis.
Yeah,
pretty entertaining.
It was like everybody in the movie theater was like Marlon Wayans. They were like, can I get the fuck out of here? Like it was just like really awkward.
Yeah.
They were like, ugh. It's like when you go over to someone's house and they start fighting with their parents, you're like, ugh. This is the most awkward thing ever. Or if you're with somebody and they're fighting with their significant other, you're like, okay, well,
yeah.
I'm like, just don't talk for the rest of the night.
I think why I didn't love this movie the first time I saw it is because it's not like wall-to-wall action, kind of like you said.
Right.
But there is like some action in this, and it's pretty decent. Like the shootout at the beginning when Halle Berry gets freaking torn apart.
Yeah, the most horrifying thing about that is when they like show her after the fact, and she's just got her like her eyes are just open. It's just like she's just
it's like
fucked.
Good lord, man.
Yeah,
she gets machine gunned like pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
But then there's a scene where like a car slams into another car and a dude gets like pinned.
Yeah, that's the part where like,
oh man.
Well, Damon Wayans is like he doesn't really touch guns at all, and he's just kind of like he really can't help Bruce Willis in any way except for shit like that, and he drives a car essentially into another guy crushing him into another car, and the guy doesn't die, by that because he's shooting his fucking Uzi everywhere trying to like kill Damon Wayans and Bruce Willis, and then Bruce Willis just comes up and like pops him in the back of the head.
Yeah, he's like dual wielding.
Right.
And I was like, this movie's great.
I think that's why I like this movie. I don't really like movies that are all action because it's kind of like a horror movie with like constant jump scares. It desensitizes somebody to that. You know what I mean? I think that's why.
Well, I understand. I understand that.
But
I don't agree. But
I would rather there be like actual character development. That's why I like this, because like they actually go through like a, you know what I mean? Like their characters change over time.
Right.
And not like if a movie only had action in it, it would be bad. It's just I feel like.
That's pretty much Hard Boiled, which is like my favorite movie. So.
I mean, it's not all action though. There are parts where they talk and they're at the police station and other shit. You know what I mean? Like it's not wall to wall action. It's just when the action goes down, it goes down, and I feel like that's kind of how this movie is too. It's like if a movie if it was literally just scene after scene of action, like you would be like you'd probably be like this is awesome, but then like thinking about it, you'd be like, dude, these characters like there would be no time for the characters to do anything other than just like, that's it. Pretty much you would get a movie like fucking, what was it? That one movie that everybody hated. The movie where like it was all CG and it was like the schoolgirls that fought like the fucking like, they were like in a house and they like, but like in their minds they fought like these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I forget what it was called.
It was like Baby Doll was like one of the characters or something like that. But it's like that kind of stuff, like just mindless bullshit. It's like, I don't care if your movie only has like 50% action, as long as when the action happens, it's like Lethal Weapon or Hard Boiled or like this movie. It like makes sense. It's funny. It's fun. It's like, it's good. You know what I mean? So. Right. Just make it entertaining and like, because this movie was very much like Hard Boiled, like Lethal Weapon, like
you're talking about Sucker Punch.
Yes, yeah.
Zack Snyder cut.
Yep.
Sorry.
No, yeah, I agree. Yeah. So, and like I don't know, but but yeah, going back
Another thing that's great about this movie is the score. Like at one point, the bass was like going out of control, and I was like, dude, this like it was like a funk.
Yeah.
Bass, and I was like, yes, so good.
Bruce Willis' character wouldn't have liked that though.
Yeah.
His character doesn't like that funk shit.
Or rap.
Right.
Or Prince. I was like, who
that was
like Prince? Like every human.
I'm not a huge fan of Prince, but I know he's got a bunch of songs that I do like. I don't like his whole catalog, but I like a bunch of his songs. You know what I mean? It's like any artist. Like, I don't think there's a single artist that has like every song they've made I've loved, but like,
that was almost as bad as James Bond hating the Beatles.
Oh yeah, that was so fucking weird. I think that was because it was also like the Beatles were like getting big, and it was just like nowadays when someone's like fuck Justin Bieber, and it's like,
right?
It's like, okay, whatever. Like, not like I'm saying Justin Bieber's like the greatest, but like just because it's the new thing, that's essentially what they threw that in the script so that like Sean Connery would say fuck the Beatles, and it was like, Which is funny now because you look back on it and it's like if somebody was like, "Give me, what can you have, James Bond or the Beatles?" and I'd be like, I don't know. That'd be a hard one, honestly. They're both yeah. I mean, I guess it would depend if I honestly could either have music or movies. That would be hard too. It's like, well,
what if you could have James Bond, but they changed all the music to just be Beatles songs?
That would be great.
Like Eleanor Rigby.
I'd be like, okay, Eleanor Rigby, I'm out of here. That'd be on the what is it? What's the one that Sean Connery came back for, like in the main continuity? Diamonds Are Forever.
Diamonds Are Forever.
Yeah. Oh my god. But I'd much rather watch that movie than fucking Never Say Never Again, which was like Sean Connery back again for like the old man fucking...
I know we've talked about this probably multiple times, but...
I think we need to actually just talk about...
Never Say Never Again.
There is, but I mean, there's also some good stuff in Diamonds Forever. It's just, I think both those movies, it was kind of like, I watched them and I was like, ugh, I mean, I guess if I thought Sean Connery was too old to be Sean Connery, or to be like, James Bond in Diamonds Are Forever, he was definitely too fucking old to be him in, like, Never Say Never Again, which they kind of address in that movie, but it's just kind of like weird. It's like, ugh.
Still, the weirdest part to me is that Roger Moore is older than Sean Connery. It makes no sense.
I think it's just because, I don't know, Roger Moore, definitely by the end of, like, his run...
when Sean Connery wrapped it up, he looked like an ancient man, and, like, Roger Moore was like a young kid.
Yeah, I think that's...
actually old.
Yeah, I think that's kind of it, is, like, by the time Sean Connery ended doing James Bond, he looked way too fucking old to be James Bond. Whereas, like, Roger Moore... Even, like, at the end, like, yeah, people were saying, like, hey, he's like, that person's grandfather, like, in age. He didn't age horrible at all. Like, he looked okay, and fucking Sean Connery looked fucking horrible. Like, I don't know.
Like, way more cigarettes or something.
Something, I guess. Also in this movie, fucking Bruce Willis's, like, wife is, like, cheating on him, and she's cheating on him with, like, his best friend who gave him a job recently. Yeah. And, like, he punches him in the stomach, and that's literally all that he does to him. Then he's like, give me the job. And he's like, you still want the job? He's like, $50 is $50. It's like, he's just like, that's how low Bruce Willis has gone in this movie at the beginning of the movie. He doesn't do anything to either one of them except for punch the guy that's fucking his wife in the stomach once. And then, like, takes the job anyway, but then, like, his friend goes off to his car and gets blown the fuck up.
Yeah.
Which is, like, okay.
That leads to something that I have to talk about, because I read Roger Ebert's review.
Oh, Jesus.
And he pointed out some stuff, like, I didn't really think about when I was watching this.
He's like, Bruce Willis was in the sandbox before I was born.
I always read Ebert's reviews just because I love them, but let me just read a little bit.
Yeah, go for it.
He said, the only consistent theme of the film is its hatred of women. The two heroes have a wife and a girlfriend, respectively, who cheat on them. The wife with Willis's best friend, the girlfriend, by prostituting herself. Both men are at home in the screenplay, which hates women with a particular viciousness. The verbal violence begins by calling them bitches and whores, and worse, over and over again. And the message is that a man can only really trust another man. The end of the movie is peculiar in the way it insists on this. The hero, reconciled with his cheating wife, embraces her and whispers vile obscenities into her ear. We are intended to read them as tender. Then he strolls off lovingly with his buddy.
I don't think that he watched the same movie that I did.
That's interesting.
I respect, like...
He's really sensitive to that kind of stuff.
I respect, like, Ebert and, Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel for, like, what they did for reviewing. But a lot of the stuff specifically Ebert says, I feel is, like, completely wrong and off the wall. Like, he raises interesting points, and it's always interesting to hear what he says, but, like, a lot of his shit is just batshit insane sometimes. Like, that, like, I could understand if somebody hadn't watched the movie completely, seeing that, but, like, it's a play on earlier in the movie. His wife was flipping out and saying like, "Why don't you get upset that I'm like that I cheated on you? I was just trying to like get you to pay attention to me. You know, I really don't like this guy." Because when that shit blows up, she thinks that her husband died. Like, she doesn't give a fuck about that one guy she was fucking, like Mike or whatever. But like, she runs out and yells his name, and he's fine. And she's like, "Why didn't you fucking say anything? Why didn't you say like, you know, spit on me and say you're the biggest bitch ever and all this other shit?" And that's why at the end of the movie he says that to her, like jokingly, like, you know, pretty much being like, "We'll work through this, and like, you know, if these people weren't here, I'd fucking spit on you, fuck you," and all this shit. Like, to pretty much like let her know that he like he's caring again. So
right. Yeah, totally. And I think that Ebert falls into the trap sometimes that a lot of people fall into, and it's really annoying actually, where they think that just because something happens in a movie means that the people who made the movie think that that's right.
Exactly. You know what I mean? I agree.
And I don't think that was, maybe it was the case here, I'm not sure.
I don't think so at all, because I think that like in this, if anything, like, because he was saying what, like, they think that like what was this shit? He was saying that like the people that wrote this movie think women are like horrible or something.
Hatred of women.
I mean that.
Yeah.
Just
because women are like hated on in this movie doesn't mean that, you know, that was the intention.
Well,
I don't think.
I mean, that's the thing, is I don't really understand why anybody would hate Halle Berry's character. Like, what's it anybody's business if she's a stripper? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that's her fucking pride. If anything, that's empowering to her, because she like is with somebody that lets her, like, is fine with her doing that for the most part. Like, yeah, he gets jealous, but you know, he just wants to make sure that like she's not fucking anybody. But then again, he like cheated on her earlier in the movie. So it's like, or didn't he at some point? Like, some guy said, "You weren't cheating on what's her face again," and he was just like,
yeah, I think so.
So it's like, if anything, like that doesn't make sense what he's saying, because like if he should say that like Damon Wayans should be hated because he cheated on like Halle Berry, and then fucking Bruce Willis's wife should be hated because she cheated on Bruce Willis. It's like, everybody's like, nobody's a saint in this movie completely. Like, yeah, Bruce Willis wasn't cheating on anybody, but he like neglected his family. He was getting drunk all the time, like, because of what happened to his career. Like, Damon Wayans, you know, he got hooked on drugs and shit, but then he also like, he's not 100% clean because he cheated on his girlfriend. Like, the only real person that was, like, completely innocent in this movie is the person that got killed, Halle Berry. Like, she did nothing wrong for the most part. Like, I don't know. Like, like you were saying, I don't think they tried to say, like, fuck women in this movie. I mean, they just really, yeah, I don't know. I didn't see it that way.
Like, violence towards women is triggering for you know.
Yeah, I mean, like, I definitely don't, like, condone, I don't love to see a movie where women are getting fucking destroyed and shit, but, like, it was, like, she had blackmail material on the football manager guy, and fucking, he sent people after her, they killed her, and that's just what, you know, that's what starts off this whole, you know, Damon Wayans getting involved with Bruce Willis thing. You know what I mean? So, like, that was kind of the catalyst for this movie. There wasn't, like, a bunch of other shit where, like, you know, Bruce Willis's wife gets fucking beaten within an inch of her life. There wasn't, like, a huge bunch of fucking other shit happening. It was, like, literally, that was really the only... They didn't even, like, fucking, like, hit his, like, daughter. Like, you know what I mean? There was nothing like that. Did she get
slapped at some point?
There's, like, a part where, like, they talk, like, the one guy that's, like, the crazy, I would say, Crispin Glover fucking kind of bad guy, where he's a creepy motherfucker, like, was saying, like...
Milo?
Yeah, where he was saying, like...
Dude, that guy is awesome.
He was pretty much saying, like, if you don't stay away, I'll treat your daughter to, like, I'll show her a hot date, implying that he's gonna fuck a 14-year-old, which I was like, okay... This guy's a piece of shit. I mean, obviously everybody knew that he's like a sick fuck, but like, You know what I
He
mean?
gets one of the best deaths
Yeah.
ever.
Yes. I think that probably is the best death I've ever seen in a movie. I was like,
Dude,
it was so over the top. I was like, what the fuck, dude? This is out of... Because I knew it was... As soon as they kept showing, like, what they showed, I was like, holy fuck. Are you serious? This is going to happen.
He gets his just desserts.
It was so video game-like. I was like, okay, that's great. The banner in this movie is really good. Like, Bruce Willis's detective character is really great. Like, I liked him. I have to take back, man. I don't know. I was thinking of, like, Marlon Wayans, because, like, especially in the scary movies, he's, like, his character wears thin on me very quickly. Like, he's funny, but then he gets very annoying. But, like, Damon Wayans is, like, he was had on his fucking acting pants in this movie, man. He was great.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Might
be one of his best movies.
That's probably why you only see Damon Wayans and shit, and, like, none of the other Wayans people really in anything, unless it's, like, a Damon Wayans produced thing. Then you'll see, like, his brother in it, but it's like Damon Wayans is definitely like the Alec Baldwin of the fucking family, like, you know, like,
right.
Yeah,
I made a note on the banter because the scene where they, like, survive that chase in, like, a horrible car crash,
right,
and they're like, "Are we alive?" And then Bruce Willis is like, "We're alive, yeah, hooray!"
Yeah.
It was so, like, the line delivery was so good because he was so, like, beat up.
Yeah, there was even a part where he gets like, they knock out Bruce Willis and they're gonna kill him, and this pimp guy, like, takes him into an alley to shoot him, and it's the only time I've ever seen in a movie where, like, a character gets out of being killed by telling your mama jokes, because he kept he was telling him to this guy.
It happens twice in this movie.
Yeah.
It happens again when he gets that puppet.
Yeah.
It's just, like, so ridiculous.
That part was probably the only part of the movie that I thought was a little out of control. Like, as far as I was kind of like, eh. But, like...
Yes, there's two scenes where henchmen, like, are about to pull the trigger, but, like, start laughing their asses off.
This part, like, I kind of... Like, this part, if this literally was the only part that happened in the movie, it'd be completely fine. Because, like, the guy was, like, a goofy, stupid idiot anyway, like, the character. Yeah. He was, like, this pimp-looking guy that, like, Bruce Willis kind of was making fun of. And then he was just like, oh, you're real funny for a guy that's about to get shot. And then he's, like, starts telling, like, you know, like... Or it was, like, your wife. That's what it was. Because he was saying that, like, he fucked his wife. And
so
yeah. And then he started saying, like... And he's like, tell some more. And he was, like, laughing uncontrollably. He was, like, Charlie Murphy style. He was like, ah! And then fucking he just, like... stabs him with a broken bottle to death, like in the throat or something. And he's like, you son of a bitch. And I was like, what are you talking about? You were about to kill him. Like, fuck you, dude. And so he, like, takes...
I trusted you.
Yeah! Yeah! I was like, hey? There was actually... But he, like... Yeah, he tells him all these jokes, and then he, like, kills him and takes the guns, and he's like, see ya. But it... Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good scene.
Actually, I was gonna put, like, this... I don't know if you noticed this, but Halle Berry, like, there's a part where she's with Damon Wayans and she's, like, purring, and it, like, gave me fucking horrible flashbacks to the Catwoman movie that she was in. But yeah, there's a part where she's, like, with him and she's, like, I forget what she says, but she's, like, pretty much she's laying with her back to, like, his chest, like that kind of a laying thing, and she says something about, she's, like, purrs or something, and I was like, oh, fuck, like...
Did you see that Catwoman movie?
Yes! It's fucking horrible.
It was insane.
So bad. Yeah, I was like, who the fuck thought this was a good idea? It was almost as bad as... Well, it probably was as bad as that... Remember that Hulk movie? The first one, where it was like... It was, like, laughable because they made it like a comic book where, like, something would...
You're talking about Hulk Hogan.
No.
I was like, Mr. Nanny?
Where, like... Something would happen, and then they would, like, fucking comic book page it, and then, like, go to the next thing. That was, like, the transitions. It was like, dude, you need to fucking... They need to take your director's card away. You suck. Like, that could... Yeah, it could be interesting for, like, maybe a skit, but a whole movie? Get the fuck out of here. This is, like, you know... This exchange cracked me the fuck up. He's like... So this is, like, the kind of dialogue that, like... It was written, but it was almost kind of like the chemistry was so out of control in this movie. It was like, so they both, this is the first time that, like, Damon Wayans, and this is after like Halle Berry gets killed and they get brought into the police station to kind of like talk about what happened and stuff to the police people. And like Bruce Willis is sitting next to Damon Wayans, and he's like, "Are those leather pants?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "How much did those cost?" And he's like, $650. And he's like, $650? And he's like, "Yep." He's like, "You wear them?" "Yep." "Does it have a TV in it or something?" "Nope." And then like Bruce Willis says, "I'm old." I was just like, I don't know. It was just like, which is funny because he says that in this movie, but he's still fucking making movies and he's old as fuck now. So it's like, dude, you don't know what old is, motherfucker. Like,
yeah, I feel like that may have been the writer because like he's so old fashioned. Like he doesn't like rap music, like we're talking about.
Yeah.
He doesn't like funk music. It's like, how old is this guy? Like, must be older than Bruce Willis.
It's almost like his character got taken from an older time and got brought into this time, which is like,
If we're talking about hilarious lines, how about this one? When the bad guys get pulled over,
yeah.
the officer's like, "Is there a problem?"
Yeah, that.
"Yes, officer. I have too many bullets in this gun." And he blows them away.
I was like,
All right. That's pushing it.
Yeah, that, I don't know. That actually, yeah, let's see. I'll just see the part with the, okay, so Joe, if we go any faster, we'll go back in time. I was like,
Yeah, that was a good one.
This exchange though was probably, I don't know, it cracked me up. Like, so they're on the highway, they're trying to chase after the senator or whoever to tell them like, hey, there's a fucking bomb in the back of the car because they switched shit out. And he's like, go up next to him, I'll yell at him. And Bruce Willis is like, yell at him, it's double pane glass, they won't be able to hear you, dumbass, or whatever. And he's like, well then go up next to him and I'll like write something and show it to him. And he's like, I'll show him a picture of this bomb. And he like shows a picture to Bruce Willis and it's like a circle with lines coming off of it. And he's like, it looks like an orange with lines coming off of it. And then he writes like bomb, but it's like BOM on it. And he puts it up to the window and they just shoot at him. Like, and he's like, I forgot to tell you, fucking, and whatever, like, bomb means fuck you. And he's like, they shot my drawing. And he's like, it's a great loss to the art world. I was like, it's just like their exchanges in this movie were like,
stop banter.
Yeah, like out of control, like, but in a good way. Yeah.
So I think my favorite scene, if it's not the ending or the intro, is the standoff scene where Bruce Willis is captured and like he asked for a cigarette.
Oh yes, yeah.
That was so amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
And that's the scene where he punches a guy to death. It's like, you touch me again, I'll kill you. And then he punches the cigarette out of his mouth and he's like, I seem to have dropped my cigarette. May I have another?
Yeah.
And then he murders him.
Yeah, because, well, like...
one of the most badass scenes.
Yeah, because the guy punches him, hits him again, and then he kills him. And I'm like, okay. My only thing with that is, like, just like the beginning where, like, he gets out of it, like, by, like, joking with somebody. He does that again with, like, the main bad guy. And I'm like, I don't really think he needed to, like, tell the guy that if he, like did it again, he would kill him. Because it's like... he was probably going to kill him anyway because he fucking fucked with his, like daughter. You know what I mean? So, like...
Yeah.
Like, it was kind of like that, and then, like,
You mentioned, like, the main villain or the main henchman dude, like the real creepy Milo or whatever.
Milo,
what
yeah.
What do you think of that guy?
I liked him. It was just kind of weird because I felt like they introduced that guy, like, a little late in the movie. Like...
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even know he was really going to be, like, a main bad guy until, like, you know, a scene or so after they had introduced him. Because, like,
right.
In this movie, like, henchmen are getting killed left and right. So, like, to me, I just thought he was just another guy that was going to die. But then he ends up being essentially, like, the third bad guy. Because there's, like...
the senator,
right, owner. Which the football team owner was gonna like double cross the senator and kill him. I think, right? Wasn't that like the plan or some shit? Like,
yeah.
it was a little like
because he explained it all in great detail to Bruce Willis,
right,
Dr. Evil style.
right. I was kind of like, huh.
Yeah, I thought that was a cool character. Like,
yeah,
his thing is he's very polite and like calls people by their proper names.
right. I think my only complaint is I wish that I would have known that guy was like more of a thing.
Yeah,
and they would have shown him more because it
right.
it was just kind of weird that like you don't really see like the main, like he was the guy that was like the main leader of the hitmen pretty much, and you don't see him till like pretty much the end of the movie, but you've already seen the main two bad guys, so it's kind of like it was a little weird. I think that's like, I don't know, I'm trying to think if there's really anything else that I like have for a con in this movie as far as like, you know, like
okay,
can you think of another like anything like con wise? Like,
the only thing that got me a little bit is there's halfway through the movie or so when Bruce Willis and Damon Wayans like are having their heart to heart, and like Damon Wayans explains.
I was about to say, of Darth Plagueis.
It got a little bit too serious for the tone of the rest of the movie.
My issue with that was more so that like, not even that it was like so serious, was that like it was the only time in the movie, well, the only time in the movie where I felt it was so staged. Like everything else was so natural, but like Bruce Willis, you know, kind of like pours his heart out, which is like completely fine. And if Damon Wayans had done it first, it would have been completely fine too. But then like Damon Wayans stands up and then fucking like walks to the window, not looking at Bruce Willis at all, and like tells his story. And I'm like, okay, dude, they should have like found another spot for this part of it. Like, you know what I mean? Because like it was too close together, and it was too like, okay, now that I've told my shit, you have to get up and tell your shit. Like, it was more so like, I feel like this would have possibly worked like in a play, like on a screen performance. But like in a movie, it was like, it felt like I'm hitting my marks kind of shit. Like,
yeah, totally. I think that makes a lot of sense the way you describe it. I just felt like something was a little bit off on that scene specifically.
I think it was also like Bruce Willis, like they're both on the couch talking to each other. Like Bruce Willis is in a chair, and then like Damon Wayans is on the couch sitting, and they're just talking to each other, having a drink. And then like Damon Wayans gets up and tells his part of it, like while talking out the fucking open back door. And I'm like, why didn't it would have been so much better if he had just came back with like, you know, that sucks, man, like I know how you feel. And he's like, how could you know how I feel? Like, you know, you're a athlete, you're a fucking, you know, you're my hero and stuff. And then he pretty much says that shit. You know, they could have done it like that, and then it would have been like they're both sitting and like talking to each other face to face. It just felt weird, like felt very theatrical and forced. You know what I mean? Not that theatrical stuff is forced, but it's, you know, at all in any way. It just felt, like I said, like very like, okay, well now I have to stand up and tell my part of the story, but I'm going to tell it facing away from you. Like it felt very different than any part of the movie that had happened up to that point. Like,
right.
It's like, this is why I'm going for an Oscar moment. I'm like, okay. Like, I'm glad you talked about that though, because I actually I was going to talk about it, but I forgot about it, and I didn't write a note on it, but I completely agree. It was like, just, it's a little off, like you said. It was kind of like if Bigfoot had walked in the background in this movie, it would have been just like, that was a little weird. I don't know why that happened, but
yeah, other than that, like, I think this movie's really enjoyable pretty much from start to finish.
Yeah.
By the end, is like it becomes
full on, yeah. It becomes full on Lethal Weapon by the end of this movie. Like, full on Lethal Weapon. Later,
get Citizen Kane. Shame.
Full on Lethal Weapon. Full on later Die Hard movies were like ridiculous bullshit, like Live Free or Die Hard, where he drives a car up into the air and it blows up a fucking helicopter kind of shit. Like that kind of stuff. There was a part where he says, if I survive this, I'll dance a jig. And at the end of the movie, he does dance. So I have
so should we get to that?
Oh, well, I was just gonna say I have to give this movie extra points for them like actually following up on that and him actually doing that, because I was gonna be pissed if like literally he didn't do that at the end of the movie.
That jig is specifically like one of the, if not the greatest moment in any movie ever.
It was. I
love it so much.
It was so lame, but it was so good. You know what? Actually, no. You know what was so lame about that was that the guys were commenting on it. Though he was like, "Is that like the police officers were like,
it's so insane."
He was like, "I think he's doing a dance," and I'm like, "How the fuck? Why would you need to like say that? No shit, and it's like people have never seen someone dance before. Like,
well, dude, that's nothing. They just saw a guy get machine gunned to death and then fall into a.
They were the ones that fucking did it.
Well, not only that, the crowd starts cheering.
Yeah.
Starts dancing. Like, why
yeah.
They should be screaming.
Yeah, so let's just go ahead and talk about it. Like, what's this?
There was
go ahead.
Note I had where there's like in one of the final battles, like
yeah,
a guy gets both his knees shotgunned.
yeah.
And I was like, man, it's like this movie is the violence is so over the top.
Yeah.
Like, so satisfying.
He throws the shotgun thing into the fire. What's his face? Damon Wayans, and it like explodes, and fucking one of the dudes just turns into like the Human Torch. Yeah. He's like, whoa!
It reminded me, it was like the same office as in Demolition Man, where like they tossed that dude's corpse into the fireplace.
That was the funniest shit I think I've ever seen in a movie, because it was so blatantly a dummy, and it just was like oh, dude. Yeah. It was like, boom. I was like, huh.
Okay, so the ending, but it's even better because Damon Wayans, like, he throws a football from the field into the owner's box and nails the senator in the face. And it's like,
well, yeah,
it just stands there. Like, it probably took that ball like 4 or 5 seconds to fly up like 80 stories into the box.
Well,
he just takes it right to the face.
Not only that, but like, doesn't he try to shoot? He's trying to shoot him, and he like hits the ball or something,
right.
And it because
right at the moment,
ball and it like knocks him back and pops the ball or something, and it's like, what the fuck just happened? I'm like, so you're telling me that like Damon Wayans
Why
can
didn't he try to get out of the way?
Damon Wayans can throw a ball faster than a bullet can be shot.
Right.
And somehow the bullet would have been slower? Like, huh? A sniper rifle?
Oh, man.
Yeah, because Milo, regardless of what happens, is still trying to, like, do his shit, like, to try to kill the senator. Because the whole thing is, like, Milo's going to go with a sniper rifle in the stadium and kill the senator on request of the football team owner. And him and Bruce Willis have like a fight, and
from a highly enlightened position.
Yeah, my whole thing was there was a couple things about this I didn't really understand, because like, so they're fighting, and I'm just gonna like go through what happens when he dies, but like the guy gets pushed towards the edge, and as he gets pushed towards the edge, he gets shot to death. Then he like falls off. And as he's falling, like, a random helicopter fucking chops him up in the blades. And it, like, he turns to, like, instant fucking, like, just, like, his body was, like, a balloon. It was
ludicrous gift.
Yeah, there was no bones or anything. It was just, like, it chopped him up into, like, blood, and that was it. But the thing I thought was weird was, like, so, at this point in the movie, they think that Bruce Willis is the one that, like, is trying to kill the senator or whoever else, because earlier in the movie when they kill the police officer, they fingerprint Bruce Willis's hand onto the gun as he's knocked out, throw it out the window, and they're like, well, you just committed a murder, and they like drive off. And so they think that he's the one that's like doing all this shit. So when the police officers try to capture him, he knocks him out and like goes after Milo. And then he like pushes him towards the edge, and he gets fucking like Milo gets shot to death. And I'm like, So were they trying to kill Bruce Willis's character and they just shot that guy instead? Or, like, when he shot at the senator, they were like, well, whoever's up there we're going to kill because it's probably the sniper. Because they instantly killed a guy, like, without knowing exactly who he was. Because from that far away, they fucking had no clue who was who. Like, you know what I mean?
So I didn't really think of that until just now, but I did notice when he was getting, like, machine gunned.
Yeah.
He was, like, doing the dance of death.
Yeah.
You could hear someone yelling, "Not me, not me."
Yeah.
So, and that was Bruce Willis. Because at first I thought it was Milo or whatever, but
right.
Bruce Willis. So I guess, did they hear him? And they're like, oh, okay, not him.
Well, it's funny because at the end, when he's dancing, it still seems like they've got their guns trained on him, and that's when they're making the, like, conversation, like, what the fuck is he doing? Like, you know, like, he's dancing. It looks like he's dancing. Like, and I'm like, so are they, like, going to kill him now? Or are they, like, about to, like, you know what I mean? Like, they were going to arrest him? Because I think, like, at the end, they kind of, like, clear everything up. But, like, if they had kept shooting, they could have killed Bruce Willis, too. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I'm not sure if that was totally fleshed out or not.
But I will say there were a couple times in this movie where there were, like, fuck-ups by the bad guys or the good guys. Because they put the bomb in the wrong car, and, like, there's a part where they're bluffing to the football team guy, and fucking, like, the money ends up being in the wrong car, because, like, the football guy takes the wrong car home or the wrong thing home, and he opens it up and it's the bomb, and, like, it blows up in the background and they're laughing. Yeah. They're like,
I hope that guy didn't have a family.
Right. Those two dogs are dead, and they didn't do anything wrong. I was like, well,
so ridiculous.
Okay, yeah, it was very diplomatic immunity, which was legit as fuck. But
man, that jig is like, I love that so much.
The thing that cracks me up though is like I said, like, I was like,
they even play like some Irish music.
Yes,
like,
yeah. It was very like dance half jig. Like, it wasn't like jig. It was like, it was very good, but it was like, I was like you were saying, I think it was one of those things where they didn't know, like, Bruce Willis, or not Bruce Willis, but like the police officers could have very well shot him there. And I was like, ugh. Oh man.
So yeah. A+.
Yeah. Yeah, it was funny because, like I said, there was a lot of parts in this film where just by happenstance they ended up, like, things worked out, which was fine.
Yeah, I sometimes I don't notice all the logic stuff. Or lack of logic.
Well, I think the funny thing was, it was more so like that became a running thing. Like, they bombed the wrong car, so his friend got blown up. They fucking, he took the wrong car home or got the wrong briefcase. So fucking, you would think that, like, the money and the bomb would have looked completely different, but I guess they were trying to trick the fucking senator, so they ended up tricking themselves.
And in the trunk of the car, they installed like a briefcase switch machine.
Yeah, I thought that was completely fucking unnecessary. I was like, what? You know what was funny though was actually a part that we haven't talked about was speaking of, like, the trunk, when they find the C4 on Halle Berry's other car, because it was another one where they fucked up and they didn't put the C4 in the right car, like, because They meant to put it on her car, but they put it on her other car instead. But the reason why I bring that up is because there's a part where they're splitting up. They're at the part where, like, Damon Wayans and Bruce Willis, like, one of the first time, I think it's the first time they're kind of like, I don't want to fucking be around you anymore. Fuck you. We're done. There is no us. That kind of a scene in a movie, and then Bruce Willis sees this car and he's like, his detective instincts kick in and he knows something's not right here. And he drives up really quick and he's like, get the fuck out of the car. And he, like, grabs him and yanks him out of the car, and they open the hood and there's, like, C4, and he, like, unhooks it and he's just like, He's like, what is that? He's like, C4, plastics explosives, you know, fucking. And then these guys come up and they're like, hey, fellas, what you up to? And, like, he had put the C4 in his trunk of his own car and, like, I guess, like, not activated it, but, like, stuck it to the inside. And, he said, like, pretty much they go through this whole rigmarole, and he's like, what you want is in the trunk. And he's like, here are the keys, and he, like, throws them into the woods or whatever, and he's like, that was a fucking stupid mistake. You're gonna pay for that shit. And he's like, open it up. And the guy fucking shoots the trunk, like, the trunk to get in, and it fucking, like, blows the fuck up and kills those two dudes. Which was awesome, but essentially on most trunks, the lock is in the middle, and where he stuck it was on the right side of the trunk. So, like,
yeah,
that was like, I was like, huh? But it was still awesome as fuck. But the funny thing about that is it connects to that part where you were like, are we alive? They fucking rolled down the hill from the explosion, and then the car that's on fire starts rolling after them, and they're like, oh, fuck! But, great movie, great action. It never got to the point where I thought it was like, okay, this movie's stupid with, like, logic. It was, like, a fun, you know, there was all kinds of stuff that happened that was, like, you know, obviously, in action movies, you have to throw away your fucking logic. A lot of that stuff is, like, out of control. But it was, like, not in a bad way. It's not, like, it never ruined my, I never broke my, like, what's it called, like, suspension of disbelief or anything like that. Everything else was so grounded in this movie, like, you know, the characters, like, both Bruce Willis and Damon Wayans' characters are very grounded. I mean, like, from what happened to them in the past, that I completely, you know, anything else, I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I mean, I've seen all this shit in Lethal Weapon as far as I'm concerned, as far as, like, how out of control stuff can get. So, like, you know, if you've seen an action movie, you know, you shouldn't be surprised by, like, the kind of stuff that happens in this movie. As far as, like, not saying it's, like, worse, I'm saying it's, like, you know, people weren't backflipping or, like, fucking Yoda wasn't flying around with a lightsaber, that kind of shit, so. So, yeah, I definitely recommend this movie. It was a good pick. I'm glad I've seen this. It's a shame that he died.
I'm glad you liked it.
Or, it's a shame Tony Scott died, is what I meant to say. Because he's...
Yeah, I think I've seen most, if not all of his movies, and they're almost all pretty to really good.
Yeah,
he had a lot of good ones left in him, I'm sure, so that sucks.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, it's great that he was able to do, like, what he did. Like you said, though, I mean, I guess we'll see, oh, shit, I didn't know, I guess they produced the, feature film A-Team movie, which was, I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, but I actually thought that was pretty fucking good. It was one of the only, like, remakes I've seen that was a film adaptation that actually I was like, this was good, but I'm pretty sure that it did horrible in theaters, so they never made a sequel, which, like, to me sucks because there's so many movies that get sequels that don't need to get sequels that sucked, you know what I mean, but they made a lot of money, so it's like, speaking of which, this movie could have totally done with a sequel. Like, I feel like this could have been a they could have done a bunch of these, like, these movies, you know. The Last Boy Scout totally. 2, I mean, it's got that, like, buddy cop, like, noir kind of feel to it, and, you know, they could have done something with Damon Wayans maybe applying to be, like, a detective or a police officer at some point, or, I don't know. There's all kinds of stuff they could have done with it. Great movie. So, I guess what's next week for us? I think it's Clue. I think that sounds about right. Clue, eh? I actually haven't seen that movie in so long, I don't remember really anything that happens, which is kind of like, I feel like the best way for me to go into these films, because I can either appropriately judge them based on, like, a first time watching. Yeah, so next week is Clue, then the week after that is Train to Busan, and, yeah.
Cool.
We will, do you have anything else to say about The Last Boy Scout?
My final thought, and I don't know if this question is answerable, but again, why was the crowd cheering when they witnessed a horrific murder.
Oh yeah, we didn't really talk about that, did we? You talked about that in the beginning.
Why were they cheering? Do they just love jigs?
The only thing that I can maybe it was just the whole crowd of you. It was just you and your extended family. They were like, woo! Then the guy's like, Friday night's a great night for jigging. And everyone's like, wah, wah. Oh, Yurimatsu says Clue. Yeah, like, my only thing is, like, maybe one of the teams had made a fucking touchdown.
No, Damon Wayans wasn't he riding a horse all over the field?
Yeah.
The game was over at that point.
Maybe they were fans of horses. Or maybe they hated that senator.
They cheered specifically once he starts dancing.
Yeah. I mean, it's...
Like
it's like 90 movies schlock. It's like... Of course the crowd's gonna cheer during something like that they have no clue what just happened.
I'd be vomiting if I saw that.
I mean, I don't... That's the thing is, like, how many people could have even seen it that high up? Like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, the only thing I can think of is, like you said, maybe, like, they showed... Maybe, so, like, so maybe that, you know, like you were saying, they were big fans of jigs, and they're also a big fan of Bruce Willis's actual character. Like, they know what he's done for the president, and, like, they're like, this guy's a great fucking hero. So they were a huge fan of...
People just really love blood, so when they got showered with blood, they were like, yay!
They were all Tom Savini's family. They were like...
They were the vampires from Blade.
God. That rave. Jesus Christ. Yeah. Joe Hallenbach. Why was, like, his name Joe Hallenbach and the other guy's name Jimmy Dix? Why wasn't his name why wasn't
his name Jimmy Dix?
What I was gonna say, why?
Right, they should swap names.
Well, Hallenbach, it makes me think of football because, like, what, you know, like fullback, like that kind of shit.
Yeah, and Dix, like, isn't that what Captain Picard's character was?
Well, Dix is also like plural, like a private eye, like a private dick.
Right. Yeah, you're totally right.
So, like,
messed up the names.
I mean, it could have been, it could have been like Jimmy Hallenbach and like Joe Dix, if they just want to switch the last names. Like, yeah, just. There was one more thing I actually wanted to talk about that I forgot just now, but it was like, fuck, it was. Was
it one of the car drove into the swimming pool and exploded for no reason?
There was that part with that guy that was really funny, where he was like, "Give me the fucking keys," and he's like, "No," and he's like, "Give me the keys or I'll kill this girl," and he's like, "Okay." Like, that guy's a comedian.
And he gets murdered.
Yeah, I know that guy's a comedian because I've seen him in shit before, but
he's in, like, The Burbs.
Yes, yeah, like he's pretty good. But yeah, he's only been in a couple things, but from what I remember. But damn, I can't remember what I was gonna say about it.
Friday night's a great night
for football. Whack, whack.
Gonna be a party in Cleveland tonight.
I'm kind of surprised you didn't actually have like the whole like list of lyrics for this, because you've been doing that recently.
Like 15 minutes searching and I couldn't find them. I tried.
Oh shit!
I couldn't find the lyric.
I actually found them.
What?
Yeah.
Nice.
So it's Friday night's a great night for football. You can feel it in the air like lightning on the edge of the night. You can feel it everywhere, but it's party time in Cleveland tonight. Friday night's a great night for football. Catching as tight ends, ready to do it. And then it's like Friday night's a great night for football. Sit back and relax, and let's get down to it. It's gonna be a hell of a fight. You got a great night of football tonight. In this primetime jungle, every primal is a rumble. Every seat's the 50-yard line. Guaranteed to have a good time. Woo, 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 woo. Guitar solo. The cats and the stallions are ready to do it. Chorus. Sit back and relax, and let's get down to it. It's going to be a hell of a night. We've got a great night of football tonight. Wait, why is there a question mark there? We've got some football here. It's Friday night, y'all. Let's kick this thing off here. Hey. So, yeah. It's a lot better sung.
we've got some football here. Oh, great. Thanks.
It's Friday night.
Some?
It's Friday night, y'all. Let's kick this thing off here. Hey. Yeah, that's actually a legit song. I tell everybody that's watching this.
It's better than the actual themes that they use now for like Thursday night or Monday night football.
It's better than like this. That really had nothing to do with the movie, other than like football was involved. Like they don't. It's not like Friday Night Lights where it's all about football. Like yes, this movie did involve football a lot, but you don't see football being played majority of this movie. I would say this is better than most themes for movies these days, though, because it's actually gets you pumped and like stuff where it's like people don't really do stuff like that anymore. Like sucks. I don't know. Maybe I'll remember what I was going to talk about next time for the next podcast, and I'll talk about it. But for this movie,
all right.
I don't want to drag this out too much longer. Cool.
Thanks. It was fun to watch, fun to talk about.
Yeah, thanks for nominating it. And like I said, next time we'll be watching Clue. And hopefully it's as good as I don't remember it. So, yeah.
I'll see you next time, Mike. I hope nothing happens.
God damn it. I'm like, Friday night's a great night for football.
Woo!
we got some football here.
We have some football here.
Oh, God. Okay, see ya.
See ya.
See ya.